The time has finally come to get your pepper plants into your spring garden. All winter long, you've babied those plants. From carefully planting and germinating the seeds, to caring for and moving those seedlings on to bigger pots. And now that you've hardened off your pepper starts, let's set up our raised beds and get these pepper plants ready for the summer ahead. With your pepper plants hardened off, either hot or sweet, and with at least 3 leaf nodes, you're now ready to plant them outside. Step 1, we must prepare the beds. My go-to pepper location are 2 6-foot beds on the south side of my greenhouse. Peppers love it hot, and they need full sun. Be aware of this when you're choosing a location. These 2 beds grew kale and bok choy over the winter, both of which have become monstrously overgrown. Using the no-till style of gardening, I cut all the remaining plants and weeds down right at the root collar. That is where the soil meets the stem. It's a bit labor intensive, but it won't damage my soil, doesn't cost me anything, and it literally takes about 5 minutes per bed. When the scissors won't do, we break out the trusty saw. In our climate, red Russian kale grows like a tree. So when it goes past a single growing season, removing it from your garden takes a little bit more effort. With the first bed done, we can now see our handiwork. 5 minutes in, we still have energy. Let's start on the second bed. Work your way through. It does seem daunting at first, but once you get into it and get into a rhythm, it does go quite fast. In this next step, we must add a protective barrier to that top layer of soil. In nature, this would just be fallen leaves, branches, and other organic debris, but in our garden, we simply use newspaper. Peppers have very strong root systems, so lay those layers on pretty thick. As you go along, water the newspaper to hold it in place, especially on windy days. Once you've covered the bed corner to corner, water that newspaper anyway and move on to the next bed. Same thing, cover that whole bed with layers and layers of newspaper, watering in the end to hold that barrier firmly in place. Now we're ready to plant. Taking your starter plant in one hand and then straddling that stem with your index and middle finger of your other hand, tip the pot upside down and gently maneuver that plant out. Unless it's completely root bound, it should pop out of that pot pretty easily. Place the pepper plant right on top of the newspaper. Place that pepper plant right on top of that wet newspaper, pressing firmly down to depress that root ball slightly and to hold the plant in place. Do note, peppers are large plants. Space them out at least 1 foot apart minimum, especially for the sweet varieties. Go ahead and work your way down the beds, planting all your pepper plant starts this way. You can see by now, I'm planting all of my peppers along the back wall of the bed. These beds are 2 feet wide, so I can easily get a row of another crop in the front of that bed. Pepper plants grow big, but not that big. With all of our pepper plants firmly in place, we can now begin to fully plant them by covering them as deep as possible with a quality organic potting mix. Hey, I'll throw a link in the description below to a video I did earlier on making your own DIY ultimate potting mix right at home. Being in the nightshade family, pepper plants have the innate ability to send out adventitious roots. These are roots that arise right from the stem of the plant. So, by planting these guys as deep as possible, we give them the best chance at maximizing their early root systems, and thus, a greater transplant success. So knowing that, don't skimp on the potting mix as you work your way down each bed. As you plant that last pepper, the temptation right now to water is extremely high, particularly on hot days, but there's one more step to do before we can water. The last step is mulching. We need to cover up our newly potted plants with a 2 to 3 inch thick layer of organic mulch. Shredded leaves, grass clippings, yard trimmings, whatever you have available. Here, I'm using a clean, coarse straw left over from winter. Take your time here and make sure to cover each plant mound good and well. A successful mulching almost always gives way to a successful crop. Finally, now we can water. Just look at how that mulch barely moves, even from this coarse watering can. If we had left that soil bare and attempted to water like this, it would have blasted everywhere, undoing all the hard work we had just done. It's really quite amazing how we've been able to take these tiny seeds, germinate them into even tinier looking seedlings, and then nurture them into full-fledged plants. And now that we've hardened them off, to be able to plant them outside is such a great feeling of accomplishment. Even more amazing is the fact that these plants are a fraction of the size that they're gonna get to. Hey, thanks for joining me in this pepper planting series. I hope your pepper plants do amazing because of it. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. If you're getting value in this and the other series that I'm doing on YouTube, hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons if you'd be so kind, and I'll see you in the next video.